Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the senator from Kansas. He actually began in Washington, D.C. as a congressman from Kansas, and this is personal for me because his congressional district included my home. He was representative, still represents my parents in Salina. Jerry Moran is a lawyer by training, but a very effective legislator by choice. He was very effective as a member of the the House Subcommittee on Aviation when he was in the House of Representatives. He's now the ranking Republican on the Transportation Appropriations Committee. Most importantly, he is a leader and an advocate for us as part of the General Aviation Caucus in the United States Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in recognizing Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas.
Ed, thank you. Thank you all very much. Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be with you this morning. Special privilege to be with my former chairman, Chairman Mica, and great to be in Central Florida despite the weather. We are delighted that you all are here and that there's such a bright future for general aviation in our country. I'm proud to join you today, and I'm proud that your association is led by a Kansan, Ed Bolin. And it's especially important, meaningful to me to be here at a time when we are dedicating this meeting to a great American who left his mark on aviation, on space, and is in our hearts and in our history books, Neil Armstrong. Delighted that you would recognize his tremendous service to those who grow up and see him as a role model. You know, the mission of the National Business Aviation Association is this: to foster an environment that allows business aviation to thrive in the United States and around the world. That is exactly the mission of 32,000 Kansans who support 450 aviation and aerospace companies in my home state. And we are delighted that many of you find Kansas as a home, and many of you shop there for parts and services. More than 90 years ago, innovators found Wichita, Kansas as a place to come with the dream of building airplanes. And Wichita has long been referred to as the air capital of the world, and we intend to keep it just that way. Wichita is the home to the National Center for Aviation Training, a world-class training facility in hopes of meeting the aviation industry's tremendous needs for workforce. And we're the home of the National Institute of Aviation Research at Wichita State University, and we are trying very hard to position this industry for a bright future in a global economy. The Wichita Greater Economic Development Coalition is here, and I encourage you to come by their booth, experience the hospitality of the air capital. Oftentimes, as a Kansan, I'm recognized coming from a state that manufactures airplanes and aviation parts, and that's certainly true. As I said, lots of companies, lots of employees, and it's our largest segment of our economy. But I also bring an understanding of the importance of aviation to Washington, D.C. as an individual who represented a very rural congressional district from a very rural state. The congressional district I represented as a member of the House of Representatives was larger than the state of Illinois, and its largest city was about Ed Bolin's hometown of about 45,000 people. In order for us to have a future in the communities across Kansas, access to the rest of the world, to the global economy, required aircraft. If you want a future for your community in our state and rural America and across the country, you have to have access to an airplane and an airport. And many times when the attacks came on the general aviation industry, it was thought about manufacturing and jobs. And I don't want to diminish that at all, certainly as a Kansan, but as an American, it is hugely important to us and to our economy. But if you are a person who cares about all of America, who cares about those folks who've made a decision to live in rural America and have access to the rest of the world because of an airport and an airplane, general aviation matters greatly. It's how we get our doctors to our communities across Kansas. It's how a small manufacturer can remain in rural Kansas and connect with the rest of the world, bring their customers in, fly their parts in and out, and continue to add to the economy of rural America. It's how we can attract and retain and grow an economy. And in the absence of general aviation, the ability for many places in America to survive and prosper diminishes greatly. And so we are here in support of the aviation industry because it creates jobs and grows our economy in the manufacturing sector, but we also recognize how important it is to the operators who utilize those planes and those airports to make certain that they have a bright future for their businesses, their families, their communities, and their homes. In the United States Senate, I serve on the Appropriations Committee, the Aviation Appropriations Subcommittee, the Subcommittee on Transportation, and I'm an active member of the General Aviation Caucus. And we share the goals of the association that you are members of, a much less bureaucratic red tape TSA, as Chairman Mica said, where security and air mobility go hand in hand. We agree and support the necessity of avoiding user fees that will make it difficult for your business to innovate and to grow. And we want to continue to shrink the depreciation schedules. As you know, there are those in our nation's capital who believe that lengthening those schedules will improve the economy, but the reality is it will significantly damage the fragile markets for business, aircraft, and jets. While we have a specific proposal that benefits this industry, we talk about the things that Congressman Mica and I visited about, specific things that matter to general aviation. And those are important. In my view, what we desperately need is a growing and prosperous economy in which every business person, every individual feels comfortable and secure in making the decision that their economy, their business, their future is bright, and they feel comfortable enough that they're going to invest and buy an airplane. And so it seems to me that while we work on the specifics of the general aviation industry, it is critical not only to this industry but to our country that we make certain that we have an economic platform in which that security and safety is there so that your customers feel smart, bright, business-wise in investing and buying an airplane. We need certainty in our tax code. We need to make certain there's no threat of additional burdensome regulations. We need a predictable idea of what health care costs are going to be. And we need a long-term plan in which the Congress and the President finally comes together to reduce our deficits so that we know that our country is not the next economic survivor like Greece. It is, in my view, while I'm glad to be with you, I wish that I was in Washington, D.C. at work on these issues. Our country does not have the luxury of waiting till the election is over to address the significant challenges that we face. And yet the decision was made a long time ago that we're not going to do these things until, quote, after the election. I hope the prediction that we do something after the election is true, because with a growing and stable economy, this industry will grow, survive, and prosper. This industry has had its struggles since 2001, and it's encountered many challenges and difficulties, but the individuals in this room, in this industry, will continue to seek the goal of prosperity for this industry and for our country. The leaders of this industry are no different than those who came to Kansas almost 100 years ago to build airplanes. You have the tenacity, the vision, and the drive to succeed, the desire to see that aviation remains a U.S. industry at the front of our nation's economy. Our nation and its future need you to do those things. This industry, just like the Kansas motto, to the stars through difficulties. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you, Senator.